The morning sun streamed through the tall windows of Roosevelt Elementary School as Mrs. Patricia Williams arranged colorful alphabet cards on her bulletin board. 23 years of teaching first grade had taught her to notice things others might miss. The way a child's shoulders drooped when they walked through the door. How some kids flinched when adults moved too quickly. The difference between a scraped knee from playground fun and marks that told darker stories. Amara Jackson had been in her class for only 3 weeks, but something about the 6-year-old girl tugged at Patricia's heart. While other children bounced into the classroom with backpacks flying and voices chattering about weekend adventures, Amara moved like she was carrying invisible weight. Her beautiful brown eyes held a sadness that no child should know. "Good morning, sweethearts," Patricia called out as her students settled into their small plastic chairs. The familiar routine began with calendar time, weather observations, and the sharing circle where children could talk about anything on their minds. Amara always sat in the same spot, 3rd row back, next to the window. She rarely participated in discussions, but Patricia noticed how the girl's face lit up during story time. Books seemed to transport Amara somewhere safer. Somewhere far from whatever shadows followed her through the school doors each day. During morning math, Patricia watched Amara shift uncomfortably in her seat. The child tried different positions, moving forward, backward, turning slightly to one side. Each adjustment brought a small wince that she tried to hide behind her long braids. "Everything okay, honey?" Patricia asked quietly, kneeling beside Amara's desk. The little girl nodded quickly, her eyes darting toward the classroom door as if checking for escape routes. "Yes, ma'am. Just trying to get comfortable." Patricia's trained eye caught the way Amara favored one side when she sat, how she seemed to avoid putting her full weight down. These weren't the movements of a child who had simply sat wrong or bumped into something during play. During lunch, Patricia observed from across the cafeteria. Amara ate slowly, mechanically, barely touching her sandwich. She sat at the edge of the bench, leaning forward as if sitting normally caused discomfort. When other children invited her to join their games, she politely declined, choosing instead to walk slowly around the playground perimeter. The afternoon brought art class, Amara's favorite time of day. Patricia had learned this by watching the girl's face brighten when she pulled out construction paper and crayons. Today, they were drawing pictures of their families. Most children drew stick figures holding hands under rainbow skies, houses with crooked chimneys and smiling suns in the corners. Amara's picture started the same way, but as she worked, her drawing grew darker. Literal darkness, as she pressed hard with the black crayon, covering parts of her family scene. "Tell me about your picture, Amara," Patricia said, sitting beside her at the low table. Amara's small fingers traced the dark patches on her paper. "Sometimes things get covered up," she whispered, so quietly Patricia had to lean closer to hear. "Sometimes people can't see what's really there." A chill ran down Patricia's spine. In her years of teaching, she had learned to listen not just to what children said, but to what they couldn't bring themselves to say directly. As cleanup time approached, Amara stood up from the art table and immediately sat back down with a sharp intake of breath. This time she couldn't hide the pain that crossed her face. "Amara, sweetheart, are you hurt?" Patricia asked, her teacher instincts and maternal concern merging into focused attention. The classroom had emptied as other children headed to their buses. Amara looked around, confirming they were alone, then met Patricia's eyes with a directness that was both brave and heartbreaking. "Sitting hurts me," she said simply, her voice carrying the weight of someone much older. "It hurts a lot." Patricia felt her heart clench. She had suspected something was wrong, but hearing those words from such a young child confirmed her worst fears. She knelt down to Amara's eye level, keeping her voice gentle and calm despite the alarm bells ringing in her mind. "Can you tell me more about that, honey? When did it start hurting?" Amara's eyes filled with tears she had been holding back for weeks. Last weekend, Uncle Marcus said it was our special secret. But secrets aren't supposed to hurt this much, are they, Mrs. Williams? The revelation hit Patricia like a physical blow. She had to consciously control her breathing, her facial expression, her voice. This precious child had just disclosed what Patricia suspected was sexual abuse, and how she responded in these next moments could determine whether Amara felt safe enough to continue talking. "No, sweetie," Patricia said softly. "Secrets that hurt you are not the kind of secrets we should keep. You were very brave to tell me." Amara's tears began flowing freely now, as if Patricia's words had opened a dam she had been struggling to hold back. "He said nobody would believe me because I'm just a little kid. He said adults always believe other adults." Patricia reached out slowly, telegraphing her movement so as not to startle the child. When Amara didn't pull away, she gently placed her hand on the girl's shoulder. "I believe you, Amara. And there are other adults who will believe you too. What Uncle Marcus told you is not true." The weight of responsibility settled on Patricia's shoulders like a heavy blanket. She knew that in the next few hours, she would need to make phone calls that would change this little girl's life forever. The school protocol was clear. Suspected child abuse must be reported immediately to Child Protective Services and law enforcement. But first, she needed to ensure Amara felt safe and supported. The child had found the courage to speak her truth to a trusted adult. That act of bravery from someone so small and vulnerable humbled Patricia completely. "Are you going to call the police?" Amara asked, her voice small but steady. Patricia looked into those beautiful brown eyes that had seen too much, too young. "Yes, honey, I have to. Because it's my job to keep you safe. But I want you to know that you didn't do anything wrong. This is not your fault." As Amara nodded, Patricia realized this was just the beginning of what would likely be a long and difficult journey for this brave little girl. But at least now, she wouldn't have to face it alone. Patricia's hands trembled slightly as she reached for her desk phone. 23 years of teaching had prepared her for many challenges, but calling the police about a 6-year-old child's disclosure of sexual abuse felt like stepping into uncharted territory where every decision carried enormous weight. "Amara, I need you to sit with Mrs. Rodriguez in the office for a few minutes while I make some important phone calls, okay?" Patricia kept her voice steady and reassuring, though inside her heart was racing. The school counselor, Maria Rodriguez, had been Patricia's ally in difficult situations before. When Patricia quietly explained the situation, Maria's professional composure masked the same sick feeling that twisted in Patricia's stomach. "I'll stay with her," Maria whispered. "Take your time with the calls." Patricia first dialed the number she had memorized but hoped never to use, the Child Protective Services hotline. The social worker who answered, Janet Chen, listened with practiced patience as Patricia provided Amara's full name, address, and the details of their conversation. "You did exactly the right thing," Janet assured her. "I'm dispatching an investigator now. Is the child still at school?" "Yes, she's safe here with our counselor." "Good. Keep her there until we arrive. I also need you to contact local police. They'll need to coordinate with us on this case." The second phone call felt even heavier. Detective Mike Reynolds from the Special Victims Unit had worked with the school district before on cases involving children. His voice was professional but kind when Patricia explained the situation. "We'll be there within the hour," he said. "Has anyone contacted the parents yet?" Patricia's stomach dropped. "No, not yet. The disclosure specifically mentioned her Uncle Marcus, but I don't know the family dynamics. We'll handle that part. Your job is to keep that little girl safe and comfortable until we get there." When Patricia returned to the office, she found Amara curled up in a chair next to Maria, clutching a stuffed bear from the counselor's collection of comfort items. The child looked impossibly small, surrounded by the adult-sized furniture and official school documents. "How are you doing, sweetheart?" Patricia asked, settling into a nearby chair. Amara looked up with red-rimmed eyes. "Are you in trouble because of me?" The question pierced Patricia's heart. This child, who had suffered abuse, was worried about getting her teacher in trouble for trying to help her. "Oh, honey, no. I'm not in trouble at all. You telling me what happened was the right thing to do, the brave thing to do." Maria leaned forward. "Amara, some people are going to come talk with you soon. They're called social workers and police officers, and their job is to help kids who are hurt." "Will they believe me?" Amara's voice was barely audible. "Yes," Patricia said with conviction. "They will absolutely believe you." 30 minutes later, Principal Dr. Sandra Hayes knocked softly before entering the office. Behind her stood Detective Reynolds, a tall man with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor that immediately put Patricia at ease. With him was Janet Chen, a petite Asian woman whose warm smile seemed to light up the room. "Hi, Amara," Janet said, sitting cross-legged on the floor so she was at the child's eye level. "My name is Janet. I work with kids who need extra help and protection." Detective Reynolds also crouched down. "And I'm Detective Mike. I help make sure bad things don't happen to good kids like you." Amara studied both adults carefully, her young mind processing whether these new people felt safe. After a moment, she nodded slightly. "Amara, Mrs. Williams told us that you shared something very important with her today," Janet continued. "Something that took a lot of courage to say out loud." "She said sitting hurts her," Patricia interjected when Amara remained quiet. "She mentioned her Uncle Marcus and said he told her it was their special secret." Detective Reynolds made notes in a small notebook, his movements careful and non-threatening. "Amara, can you tell me about Uncle Marcus? Is he your mom's brother or your dad's brother?" "Mama's brother," Amara whispered. "He lives with us now because he lost his job." Patricia and Janet exchanged glances. The living situation complicated matters significantly. "How long has Uncle Marcus been staying at your house?" Janet asked gently. "Since before school started? Mama says family helps family, and Uncle Marcus needed help." Detective Reynolds continued his careful questioning. "And when did Uncle Marcus first hurt you?" Amara's small frame seemed to shrink further into the chair. "The first time was when Mama went to work late shift. She works at the hospital cleaning rooms at night sometimes." The timeline was becoming clearer, and Patricia felt anger building in her chest toward a man she had never met, but who had violated this innocent child's trust and safety. "Amara," Janet said softly, "you've been very brave telling us about this. Now we need to make sure you stay safe. We're going to need to talk to your mama too." Fear flashed across Amara's face. "Is Mama going to be mad at me? Uncle Marcus said she wouldn't love me anymore if she found out." Patricia moved closer and gently touched Amara's hand. "Your mama loves you very much. When parents find out someone hurt their child, they're not mad at the child. They're mad at the person who did the hurting." Dr. Hayes spoke up from where she had been quietly observing. "We need to discuss next steps." "What's the protocol for contacting the mother?" Detective Reynolds checked his watch. "It's 4:30. Mrs. Jackson should be picking Amara up soon for the normal school routine. We'll intercept that conversation and handle it carefully." As if summoned by their words, the school secretary's voice came over the intercom. "Dr. Hayes, Amara Jackson's mother is here for pickup." The room fell silent, except for Amara's sharp intake of breath. Everyone understood that the next few minutes would be crucial in determining how this family crisis unfolded. "I want to stay with Mrs. Williams," Amara said suddenly, reaching for her teacher's hand. Patricia squeezed gently. "I'll stay right here with you, sweetheart. You don't have to face this alone." Detective Reynolds stood up. "Mrs. Jackson needs to be informed about the allegations before she takes Amara home. Given that the accused perpetrator lives in their house, we can't allow the child to return to that environment tonight. Janet nodded. I'll handle the conversation with Mrs. Jackson. Detective Reynolds, you should be present, but let me take the lead initially. Patricia watched these professionals coordinate their response and felt grateful that Amara would have advocates fighting for her safety. But she also worried about the emotional earthquake about to hit this little girl's world. Amara, Janet said, turning back to the child. In a few minutes, we're going to talk to your mama. She might be very surprised by what we tell her, and she might have a lot of feelings about it. But I want you to remember that none of this is your fault. Through the office windows, Patricia could see Shayla Jackson in the hallway, checking her phone while waiting for her daughter. She was a young woman, probably in her mid-20s, who worked multiple jobs to support her family. She had no idea that her world was about to change forever. Let's bring Mrs. Jackson in, Dr. Hayes said quietly. As the adults prepared for one of the most difficult conversations any parent could face, Patricia held Amara's small hand and silently promised that no matter how complicated things became, this brave little girl would not face her fears alone. Shayla Jackson entered the principal's office with the casual confidence of a parent picking up her child after a normal school day. Her nurse aide scrubs were wrinkled from a long shift at the hospital, and she carried the tired but warm smile of a mother who worked hard to provide for her family. That smile faded the moment she saw the collection of adults surrounding her daughter. What's going on? Shayla's voice carried both concern and the defensive edge of someone sensing trouble. Amara, baby, are you okay? Patricia watched the mother's face as Janet Chen stepped forward with professional gentleness. This was the moment that would either make or break this family's ability to heal. Mrs. Jackson, I'm Janet Chen from Child Protective Services. We need to discuss something very important about Amara's safety. The words hit Shayla like a physical blow. She immediately moved toward her daughter, but Detective Reynolds gently intercepted. Ma'am, please have a seat. We need to talk first. CPS? Police? What is this about? Shayla's voice rose in pitch, confusion and fear battling for control. Amara, what happened? Did something happen at school? Amara shrank deeper into her chair, overwhelmed by her mother's distress. Patricia moved protectively closer to the child. Janet kept her voice steady and compassionate. Mrs. Jackson, Amara disclosed to her teacher today that she's been sexually abused. She specifically mentioned your brother Marcus. The silence that followed was deafening. Shayla's face went through a series of expressions: disbelief, shock, dawning horror, and finally a mother's protective rage. What? No, that can't be right. Shayla looked between the adults and her daughter. Amara, baby, tell them it's not true. Uncle Marcus loves you. He wouldn't hurt you. Mama, sitting hurts me, Amara whispered, the same words that had started this whole revelation. Uncle Marcus made me promise not to tell, but Mrs. Williams said secrets that hurt aren't good secrets. Patricia watched Shayla's world crumble in real time. The young mother's knees gave out, and she sank into a chair, her hands covering her face. Oh, God. Oh, my God. I left her alone with him. I trusted him. Shayla's voice broke into sobs. How could I not know? How could I not see? Detective Reynolds leaned forward. Mrs. Jackson, predators are skilled at hiding their behavior. This is not your fault. Your daughter was brave enough to tell a trusted adult, which means she knew you would want to protect her. Janet added, the important thing now is how we respond. Amara needs to know her family believes her and will keep her safe. Shayla raised her tear-stained face to look at her daughter. Baby girl, I am so sorry. Mama should have protected you better. Does this mean Uncle Marcus has to go away? Amara asked. her voice small but carrying a note of hope. "Yes," Shayla said firmly, her maternal instincts overriding her shock and grief. "He will never be allowed near you again. I promise you that." Detective Reynolds made more notes. "Mrs. Jackson, we'll need to coordinate Marcus's removal from your home. Given the allegations, he cannot remain in the same residence as Amara." "He's at work right now," Shayla said, her voice gaining strength as her protective instincts kicked in. "He works construction. Won't be home until after 6. "What do I need to do?" Janet outlined the immediate steps. "We'll have officers accompany you home to remove Marcus from the premises. Amara will need a medical examination by a specialized pediatric nurse, and we'll need to arrange counseling services for both of you." Dr. Hayes, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. "Mrs. Williams, your role in this has been exemplary. Amara clearly trusts you completely." Patricia looked at the little girl who had shown such incredible courage. "Amara, I want you to know that you did nothing wrong. You were so brave to tell me what was happening." Over the next hour, the machinery of child protection and law enforcement began its careful work. A specialized pediatric nurse was called to conduct a medical examination. Victim services arranged for counseling. Detective Reynolds coordinated with patrol officers who would assist in confronting and removing Marcus from the Jackson home. Throughout it all, Patricia stayed close to Amara, providing the stable adult presence the child needed as her world shifted dramatically. "Mrs. Williams," Amara said quietly while the adults coordinated logistics, "will you still be my teacher tomorrow?" "Of course, sweetheart. I'll be right here in our classroom just like always." "Will the other kids know what happened?" Patricia knelt down to meet Amara's eyes. "Only the adults who need to know to keep you safe will know. Your classmates will just see you as the same smart, kind girl you've always been." As evening approached, the immediate crisis stabilized into a plan of action. Marcus would be arrested when officers encountered him at the Jackson home. Amara would stay with her maternal grandmother that night while Shayla processed the trauma and began making arrangements for their safety. "Mama," Amara said as they prepared to leave the school, "are you disappointed in me?" Shayla knelt down and gathered her daughter into a fierce hug. "Baby girl, I could never be disappointed in you. You were brave and strong, and you told the truth when it was scary to do so. I am so proud of you." Patricia felt tears in her own eyes, watching this mother and daughter reconnect in the aftermath of such a devastating revelation. 2 weeks later, Patricia watched Amara participate in morning circle time with increasing confidence. The child still had difficult days, still sometimes shifted uncomfortably in her seat as her body healed, but there was a lightness about her that hadn't been there before. Marcus had been arrested and charged with multiple felonies. He was being held without bail pending trial. The Jackson family had moved to a new apartment with Shayla's mother, creating a support system for both mother and daughter as they navigated counseling and recovery. "Mrs. Williams," Amara said after class one day, "I drew you a picture." The drawing showed 2 figures holding hands under a bright yellow sun. One tall, one small, both smiling. "This is you and me," Amara explained. "On the day I told you my secret. You made the scary thing less scary." Patricia hung the picture on her bulletin board, next to all the other treasured artwork her students had created. But this one held special meaning. It represented the moment a brave little girl found her voice, and a teacher listened with her heart. In her decades of teaching, Patricia had learned many lessons about childhood resilience, the power of trusted adults, and the importance of believing children when they find the courage to speak their truth. But Amara had taught her something new about the profound responsibility that comes with being a safe harbor for a child in crisis. Every child deserves at least one adult who believes them completely, Patricia wrote in her journal that evening. Today, I had the honor of being that adult for a very brave little girl. The investigation would continue. The legal process would take months. Healing would be a long journey for the Jackson family. But in Roosevelt, elementary's first-grade classroom, a 6-year-old girl was learning to trust again, to speak up when something was wrong, and to believe that adults could be counted on to keep children safe. And that, Patricia knew, was where real change always began, with one child finding their voice and one adult choosing to listen with both professional duty and human compassion.